The wait is over. Teams are punching their tickets for a magic carousel ride to the big dance on hardcourt. The NFL free agency is heating up, and Kevin Durant is looking for the next destination in his long NBA career. Stay tuned because we're talking all this out on the one and only College Crossfire.
All right, I'm going with classic, the 9-9-9. I'm going to do the 9 hot dogs, 9 beers, 9 innings challenge.
Need I say more? Need I say more? Need I say more at all?
From Costco specifically, I'm going to take 2 double chunk chocolate cookies, ice cream sandwich, but it's fried.
It's about to get hot in here, folks.
It's about to get hot. Good evening to everyone tuning in tonight. I'm your host, Robert Gonsolin, and we've got a very exciting show in store for you. It's show number 7 of the entire semester, and it's our last one before we all take a relaxing spring break. As you can see, we're all in our spring break attire as we're getting a little festive for whether it's just a trip home or taking a nice vacation. We're all getting pretty excited. But as that's our last show before the break, you know what that means. This is our March Madness show. We've talked a little bit about college hoops in the last couple of weeks, but this is the show. It's going to be an electric one. As always, before we begin, I want to share that today's show is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between, so plan your ride to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. So, without further ado, as always, we got to do some introductions before we jump right in. In our first seat, we have this week's returning champion, a huge Duke Blue Devils fan in addition to being a Longhorns fan. He might be picking them to win his NCAA championship in April. It's our very own Aram Vela.
Salutations, Robert.
Welcome, Aram. It's good to have you on.
Shalom gimmick and Big 2-5.
In our second seat, we have a man making his long-awaited return to the show after putting up an absolute fight back in February. An H-Town fan, tried and true. He may have the Cougs as his champion this year. Let's welcome back on Tyler Strempel.
Hey, Robert, how's it going? I'm not really going to give away any of my answers tonight. Excited for spring break. Going to go see some Astros spring training games. So that's going to be really fun, and I'm excited to get a win here tonight. Going
out to Florida. And I found out today that the Washington Nationals also play in the same spring training stadium as our very own Houston Astros. And then, in our third seat, rounding off our lineup for tonight, we have a sophomore making his second Crossfire appearance of the semester tonight, a huge hockey and baseball fan, and a big Michigan State fan. He may have Sparty taking it all this year. It's our very own Colin Flickinger.
Hey, all. I don't really know what I'm doing for spring break other than going home. I will be doing a lot of bed rotting and playing a lot of golf, but other than that, not really much of an idea what I'm doing.
That's what all a spring break is about, just taking it easy, whether it's going somewhere or just taking a relaxing vacation at home. It's whatever anyone pleases. So, tonight's show is going to be a lot of fun, but before we begin, it's important that we review the game's rules in case our viewers have never tuned in before. So, there will be 3 rounds with each one containing 3 questions. Points will be given out to who I believe has the best answer in order of 3, 2, and 1. Whoever has the most points at the end of the final round wins and gets a return for next week's show. However, there is a catch. We must not forget that the third and final round, better known as the rapid fire round, is worth double the points, meaning the best answer will receive 6 points, second best will receive 4, and third best will get 2. In this round, the contestants have not been able to see or prepare for these questions whatsoever, so they'll have to think on their feet and come up with their idea of what the best possible answer is. In the event that there's a tie by the end of rapid fire, I have a bonus question prepared to determine who our crown champion will be at the end of the show. Now that we've reviewed the rules, let's jump right into the fire. So, starting things off, unfortunately for next week, we will not have a Crossfire episode the night before the big dance begins. While the conference tournaments are still going on right now, give me your predictions for which team you think will pull off a major upset in this year's NCAA tournament. Aram, start it off.
So on the women's side, I'm gonna just pick something that's pretty outlandish. So Oregon State, that's what I'm gonna pick. They recently won the WCC tournament. They clinched their ticket at 19-15. They beat Gonzaga, Pepperdine, and Portland on their way to get there. So and they got 3 players averaging 10 points or more. So I think maybe if they're a 12 seed, they can maybe upset a 4 or 3 seed on the men's side. I'm gonna go with. I'm not sure if this is really a Cinderella, but that's not what was in the question. I'm gonna go with UConn Huskies. They're currently mocked as an 8 seed, 22-9, 14-6 in the Big East. They're not necessarily a season by their standards, but they're still the 2-time defending champs. They got players like Alex Caravan. They got Samson Johnson, Jalen Stewart, Jalen. What was the other guys? Solo Ball. That was the other big one. So I think that they'll probably end up beating a 1 seed on their way, or maybe a higher seed as well. But I'm gonna pick UConn and Oregon State on the women's.
UConn had a little bit of a rocky season to start back in November. They lost those 3 straight games, but Dan Hurley knows how to play in March. Tyler?
When I look at these, I like to look at teams that might be in the middle seeds but have the chance to really upset a big seed, like a 1 or 2 seed. So I'm going to go with Missouri on the men's side. They have a very lethal offense, and I think that if their defense can play half decent, they have a shot to beat anyone in the side of the bracket that they're currently on. I'm going to go with Tennessee on the women's side. Same kind of deal, lethal offense. If their defense, we saw Texas play Tennessee, and it was a hard-fought game. Lethal offense from the Tennessee Volunteers, and if their defense can perform half as well, I think their team lend themselves really well for a March run. So I'm going to go Missouri, Tennessee, because I think one of the best defenses is a good offense.
Missouri and Tennessee, 2 teams playing in a very heavy talent SEC conference this year. They're probably not going to win their respective tournaments. Tennessee already did not. Missouri, they have the chance to, but when you pick a team right in the middle of a great conference, they can just about play with anyone in college. All right, Colin.
Well, I'm going to go with the same route for the women's team as Tyler did. I think Tennessee is going to be able to make a big splash. They're a team that can hang in games. As Tyler mentioned, they did well against Texas, but they also only lost by 2 points to LSU earlier this season. And they're the 14th team in women's net rating and had an overall ability to hang with the best, which I think really lends itself well to March. And for the men's side, I'm actually going to go with a 10 seed, or projected 10 seed, Drake, who has they have the 31st best defense in the country right now. They have the highest steal percentage rate in the NCAA, the 6th highest forced turnover rate, and what their starting guard, the guy that runs their offense from the SoCon Valley, is actually managed to get a 3rd-team All-American shout for the entire NCAA. I think a player with that kind of star power is able to really, really do well in March, and I think Drake is going to be able to go to the Elite Eight.
A big All-American, coming from a small conference in the SoCon, you get to March, you come to play. I'm going to give the 3 right here to Colin right over here. Tyler, I like what you said in Missouri. They have one of the best players, Caleb Grill, playing in the tournament right here, and I think he can do a lot for the Tigers. Aram the 1. Moving on, but staying with college basketball, sticking with the men's bracket of the NCAA tournament, Cinderellas and dark horse teams are fun to watch, but it's very rare to see 4 of those teams take up all spots in the Final Four. Give me your Final Four teams and who will be taking it all this year. Remember, this is the men's bracket. Tyler?
Okay, so I'm going off, first of all, a disclaimer, I'm going off of Joe Lunari's bracketology here to determine what regions I'm going to be doing in, because obviously 2 teams cannot win a region.
I think that's where we all look, Yeah.
So I'm just going to name them 4, and then I'm going to start explaining things. Duke, Houston, Missouri, Texas Tech. That's my Final Four this year. I think Missouri really has a chance to make that kind of run. Texas Tech can hang with the best teams. They beat Houston, and they kept it very close against Houston another time. Duke is one of the, I think we said, Ken Pom said they were one of the best teams of all time, and Houston's defense is just entirely too lethal not to make it this year. Now, obviously, I said that a good defense is a good offense, so that's why I think Missouri is going to make it. If I had to pick a team that can win a national championship, I really like a defensive team who can do okay on an offense, because I think defense is just slightly more important when we get to the later games. That being said, I think I'm going to have to go with Houston winning the national championship. People like L.J. Cryer, people like Miles Uzon, they're just good at what they do, and I think that defense can take them this year.
You pick 2 teams, Duke and U of H. a lot of both those teams, I mean, more so Houston last season, they were a Final Four caliber team last year. They got upset by Duke. There's a very good chance that they can meet again in the Final Four. Colin.
Same reasoning as Tyler for Houston and Duke. I think those teams are kind of undeniable. They have shown almost no flaws throughout the season. For my third team making the Final Four, I'm going to go with Florida. I think they hit a stride as of late. They beat Alabama and Texas A&M to start off March. I think they're going to perform real well in the SEC tournament, and I think that team has been meshing together really well within the last couple months. So I think a team getting hot like that is perfect for a Final Four run. And then out of the last region, I'm actually going to go with, you guessed it, Michigan State. They have the number, I think, 5 defense in the Power 4 or Power 5 in the country. They have 10 players on the team who have scored 10-plus points, 8 players with 15-plus, and 4 with 20-plus. They play a really high-paced defense, and so having that many players that can do both the offense and play defense really wears out the other team while keeping your guys fresh. I think that plays really well in the March, and I think Houston's going to win it all. I think they have a really well put together team, so I think they're the ones who are going to be able to finish it out.
So you got someone from the ACC, Big 12, SEC, Big 10. That would be a pretty electric Final Four to watch, as you have representation from around the whole entire country. Aram.
Duke, 22-point differential. That's the highest in the country. Best player in college basketball at 18 years old, Cooper Flagg. No explanation needed there. Michigan State, that was a good pick. I'm going to take them again. Jace Richardson, great freshman. They're second in quad 1 wins at 12-4. And I'm surprised they're really not getting a lot of national attention, because that is probably a top 1 and 2 team seed in either region. I'm going to go Florida. Unlike some of the other SEC teams like Alabama and Auburn, which I'm surprised nobody said, Alabama and Auburn struggled later in the year, losing consecutive games, I believe. Florida, they've been a pillar of consistency, 8 quad 1 wins, and in a gauntlet conference like the SEC, that's something that needs to be taken a note of. And for the last team, I'm going to go Texas Tech. That was also a really good pick. JT Toppin, transferring from UNM. Really good player, 18-9. 14-point differential. That's good for top 10 in the nation. 8 quad 1 wins. And I'm going to take Duke to win it all. Like you said, one of the best teams of all time. I think there's something special about the squad in Durham with, Cooper Flagg, the best player in the country. It seems like the media's already written them to be the champions, so that's what I'm going with.
All right, I'm going to have to give it a 3 right here to Mr. Tyler Strempel, because he hits all 4 cylinders on the head pretty well. Texas Tech, they beat Mizzou. Texas Tech, they beat Houston. Houston's a great defense, though. They can take them all the way. Duke, one of the best teams of all time through Ken Pom. And then Mizzou. I mean, you talked about Mizzou already last round, and, Caleb Gill. Is it Gill or Grill?
Is Grill.
Caleb Grill. He's leading that whole team very well. I'm going to have to give the 2 right here to Colin Flickinger. You talked about Duke being also a great team, but then you mentioned here we have Izzo and Sparty coming in, and then you have Florida coming in, them being able to kind of hang with those top teams. And then, Aram, I like how you said with each quad 1 win that you acquire in college basketball is not equal to each other. A quad 1 win holds different weight than other quad 1 wins. It just depends on who you play, and I like that reasoning right there. So 3, 2, 1 down the line. All right, finishing things off, the women's bracket, finishing things off with the women's bracket, a major reason viewership for the sport has grown exponentially over the last 2 years is because of the marquee matchups that we've seen take place at any stage in the bracket. If there is one crazy matchup that you could see taking place this year, which is the one you are most looking forward to? Colin.
I got to go with TCU versus UConn. It's Haley Van Lith's final year. It's her final shot at winning a national championship. She has been more, other than Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, I'd say she was the third face of the sport for the last few years. And then on the flip side, UConn is the perennial juggernaut of women's basketball. Ever since I was a baby, they have been dominating women's basketball. Paige Bucher's at the helm. She's great. I really want to see those two go head-to-head. I think that would be an amazing matchup, and I think overall that would be just pure cinema to watch.
Paige Beckers, cemented herself as one of the best UConn players of all time, and then HVL still chasing that college ring. That would be crazy to see. Aram.
Yeah, Van Lith is washed. I think she's pushing 30 or something. So I'm gonna take. You know, in women's college basketball, you know, the brands really doesn't matter because Caitlin Clark made Iowa brown. If you showed me Iowa on a map, I'm not sure why I would even show you where it's at. That's up in the boondocks somewhere. So I'm gonna take UConn. It depends on the two biggest players, and I think it's Paige Beckers right now with UConn, Juju Watkins for USC. We saw it with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark 2 years ago in that tournament where I believe they played in the final. I think it was 102-85 in favor of LSU. That drew numbers that were bigger than the UConn championship that year against San Diego State. So Juju Watkins, sophomore, probably one of the most hyped prospects of all time, and Paige Beckers. I'm going to take those two. I want to see them play.
That would be a little bit of part 2 action. Didn't we see that one a little bit last year?
72-70, I think.
And UConn won that game. I believe so, yes. Tyler.
Okay, I'm going to go with 2 big college brands, and I think what these two are forgetting is what the media is also doing all year and not giving enough recognition to Madison Booker. We're going to go with Texas against USC. Madison Booker against Juju Watkins. Elite defense on Texas side. Juju Watkins, amazing shooter from the other side. Top 10 offense. Vic Schaefer, Lindsey Gottlieb. This matchup would feed families. It is such a high-power, high-octane matchup. Who would not want to see that in March?
That'll be a great matchup. I'm going to have to give the 3 right here to Mr. Aram Vela. I do think that the Juju Watkins versus Paige Beckers storyline for part 2, that's just the craziest one. Hey, I'm going to give you, Colin, I'm going to give you the 2 here. I think Haley Van Lith and Paige Beckers, there's also just Paige Beckers, she's still trying to get her ring. HVL, still trying to get her ring. We've seen HVL transfer all over the place and play for great teams, still hasn't gotten one. As a UT fan, I would love to see Texas play some of those big teams and get the national recognition that they deserve. Even though they get ranked high enough, I would love to see them get the national recognition. But from a completely unbiased, neutral standpoint, I think the storylines, the hype around certain matchups, I think it goes with Juju Watkins and Paige Beckers, and then with your answer, Colin. All right, so 3 questions up, 3 questions down. That is going to conclude things for our first round of the night. But when we return, we've got some more basketball to talk about. Don't go anywhere because College Crossfire returns in just a sec. Welcome back into College Crossfire. We've got a super close game here tonight. After 1 round, Mr. Colin Flickinger leads with 7, Tyler Strempel right behind him with 6, and Aram Vela right behind him with 5. So those are overall some great answers from the first round as we continue on. So starting off our second round of the night, there have been a lot of NFL free agency moves this offseason. It's been a wild week. From trade requests to free agency signings and looming rumors, March has been nothing short of the excitement. Which offseason move has been the smartest for an NFL team so far, and why? Colin, start this off.
I think that the Commanders trading for Laramie Tunsil was the smartest move that they could have made. They had last season the 7th best offensive line in the country or in the NFL, but they were significantly behind on pass blocking. They had a 34.4% pressure percentage on pass plays. Meanwhile, they go and trade for Laramie Tunsil. They trade a more or less a third round pick for the guy, and they get the 4th best PFF graded pass blocker in the NFL. That is in a Cliff Kingsbury offense where they air it out. They have the 10th highest pass above expected stat in the league. I think that is a wonderful addition to the team that once you mind the fact that they brought Deebo Samuel into the fold, they're going to be passing it a lot more with another receiver to give it to, will only bolster their chances of making it through the NFC and winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, so he did jump off sides a lot or create a lot of false start penalties for the Texans, but I am a little sad to see him go, and I'm not really sure as to why they kind of let go of him. Tyler?
Yeah, I'm not sad to see him go at all. Laramie Tunsil was statistically sure he was fine, but you could see on the field he wasn't fully with it a lot of the times, a lot of false starts, lackluster coverage in some situations, and also it seemed like that he was a bit of a problem in the locker room. So I think that's a great move. I think Nick Caserio nuking the offensive line like he has been is a great thing for the Houston Texans, whose offensive line has been absolute garbage in these past couple of seasons. The trade to get draft picks for Larry Tunsil, the trade to get C.J. Gardner-Johnson for Kenyon Green. Kenyon Green has been a bust. He has been absolutely terrible on the offensive line. To get C.J. Gardner-Johnson for that is an absolute fleece. And then there's a pick swap involved too, which wasn't even that bad. It was a 26th, 6th for a 25th, 5th. That's not bad at all. Nuking the offensive line, getting picks, getting better players on the defense. What a move from Nick Caserio. And then Nick Caley gets to draft new offensive linemen this year. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful.
So obviously there's the converse to that in terms of how did the Texans benefit, and obviously they struggled on the offensive line, and they cleared room for that. They're keeping Titus Howard, and they're making room to improve an already great defense. Aram.
I gave you a series of signings. I'm going to do the same thing. The New England Patriots made a series of signings. Milton Williams, Morgan Moses on the offensive line, Carlton Davis III shutdown corner, Harold Landry pass rusher, I believe from Tennessee, Robert Spillane. 5 starters that could easily be inserted to any system. The New England Patriots last year, I know it was a fall from grace, had the 22 ranked defense, but they're giving Mike Vrabel, new coach, a defensive-minded coach, talent to work with now, so that way, you can continue building around Drake May in the future. I think that the Patriots, they're a little bit behind the Texans, but I think the blueprint should be the same. You found your guy in C.J. Stroud. Drake May is really that guy. He seems to have the magic around him. He can make plays. So I think that the New England Patriots making those signs, they already have studs like Gonzo and Keon White on defense. They ensure their defense. That's going to be a top defense in the AFC. And they're just going to have to build around Drake May. I see you, Nolan. They're going to have to build around Drake May in the future, whether it be in the draft. It's more of a long-term thing for me.
Yeah, so in terms of when you have a good quarterback, I'm starting to see now in the NFL that it's not that you need to get a good offensive lineman first, but you got to get a good defense first. And look at the Bengals. I mean, their defense is atrocious, but they had a great offense. Yeah, so I'm going to have to give the 3 right here to Mr. Tyler Strempel just because of Larry Tunsil. I said, it was weird seeing him go, but he did have a lot of false starts, and they're like maximizing the improvement that they can on the defense, and they're just hitting the reset button on the offensive line. The other side, this is a very, very good trade, beneficial trade for both teams. I'm going to give you the 2, Colin. Laramie Tunsil going to the Commanders. You have a great quarterback, a mediocre offensive line. Why not get one of the when he's playing well, one of the best offensive linemen in the entire league? I think that's a good pickup. And then Aram, Patriots making moves to help Drake May, the 1. All right, as the NBA playoff race is heating up, so are talks of Kevin Durant's next destination. There are rumors that the Phoenix Suns are working on trade deals to find the NBA superstar's next home. Where will KD be playing next season? Tyler?
I'm going absolutely unbiased here because I have some reservations about this, but I'm going with what makes sense. You have a team whose offense has been struggling lately, but whose defense has not been struggling. And when that happens, you get a lot of close games that are lost because your offense can't do it. I hate to say this for some reason because I have some weird reservation about this. I'm going to go with the Houston Rockets. Their defense has been good. You have good playing from Şengün, Amon Thompson every once in a while, Jalen Green, the ad hominem fallacy, or I just learned we started calling him that now. I think if you can add a scorer who he's in his 30s, he's 6th in the league with 26.9 points per game. If the Houston Rockets can add an offensive anchor into this team to help propel them to win in close games when their defense is doing what they need to do, you have a team going into win now mode with the chance to actually compete for a championship. I think it is a beneficial move for both sides.
So this is one of the youngest teams in the entire league. They don't really have that veteran yet. I think one of the oldest players, not one of the oldest, but one of the oldest players who's been on the team for a long time is Jalen Green. Aram?
I'm going to go with the Rockets as well, not because, the fit, Kevin Durant can really fit into anywhere. As far as the cap space goes, the Rockets have the cap space and they have the assets to trade for him because he's on the last year of his deal in the 25-26 season. So I believe the Rockets can put together a package of either Fred VanVleet, Jabari Smith, a couple for, maybe not even a couple first. Luka only got 1 first from the Lakers. So I'm going to go with the Houston Rockets because, Jabari Smith is trash, you can easily just replace him with that. The Rockets can't get Kevin Durant. and they have the assets to get him next season. None of the other teams make sense.
So real fast, both of y'all going with Houston. Real fast, who's out of Houston if they get Kevin Durant?
Van Vliet.
Van Vliet.
Van
Jabari
Vliet-
Smith, maybe a first. It's all my fault. I'm gonna say Van Vliet, Jabari Smith, maybe a first. You don't.
So someone's going.
You don't
It's
give up
gonna
saying who.
it's gonna be a package involving Fred Van Vliet. He's gonna be an anchor into a rebuilding team.
All right. All right.
I wonder if there's a team in the NBA who has a very short window, who has a GM that will be acting erratically as his job is on the line after he made a terrible trade, like the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, they already got the unction going on there with Kyrie Irving. They got Klay Thompson and Anthony Davis. It's a great team in 2019, but they have a very, very short window, and I don't think KD wants to really be in the NBA for that much longer. Maybe another 2 to 3 years. If he wants to give his best shot for the next 3 years at winning a championship, I don't think he can go to a young team like the Rockets and potentially win a championship. I think his best shot is to go to the Mavs, which is unfortunate for him because it's not going to happen. He's not going to win a ring if he goes there. But I think he's going to end up probably going there because I think that the Mavericks are going to put together a trade deal for him because Nico Harrison's going to try to save his job.
Yeah, so we're both sticking with teams in Texas right here. I think, look, of all the three teams, the two teams y'all gave, I think Houston's a better chance than Dallas. And I like how you said, Tyler, the offensive struggle in Houston right now, but the defensive power that they have, and they need a player right now who will get them out of those close games and help them to win comfortably. The Rockets are right there with their core, their young core that they have, but they don't have that veteran leadership yet. And I like how you touched on that. You'll get the three. Aram, I like how you talked about there are some certain players and trios, duos that the Rockets can make with this team with the addition of Durant. And he's a good substitute for players like Jabari Smith. You know, why are we getting in a 6-week injury by dunking in warm-ups? Like, why is Jabari Smith doing that? Colin, Dallas, I just don't know if he goes there. I feel like the rest of his career might be just in limbo.
I never
But
said that it was going to be a good move. I just thought
No.
it would be a move that will happen.
But obviously those are the answers. So, last question of the round. Blink once in the MLB offseason is nearly over. Spring training has already begun, and the teams are shaping up with newly acquired players, prospects, and coaching staff. Which is the biggest breakout prospect that you've seen so far this month, and tell me why. Aram.
So this is really the only question I care about, bro. You know, I'm not a baseball aficionado like these fools up here. But I'm gonna go with Cam Smith from the Astros. 14th pick out of Florida State. You know, he's batting .450 right now in spring training, which, from what I understand about the sport, that's pretty damn amazing. And his OPS is 1.4. I think that's pretty damn amazing too. So as far as the Astros go, they lost Bregman and they lost Kyle Tucker in the offseason. You know, it's going to depend on how Isaac Paredes performs at that third baseman spot. But, you know, Cam Smith, he can play that third baseman. I think they've been putting him out in the backfield. So I just think, you know, like, whatever role they need him to play, if they play in the outfield or in third base, I think they're going to put him where he needs to go. He's been really, 450 is just crazy. Batting 450 as a rookie, that's crazy. I'm going to go Cam Smith.
It takes time for rookies to make their big league debut, but, you know, the Astros, they need to fill Bregman's spot. Yeah, go ahead.
For me, I think Bubba Chandler of the Pittsburgh Pirates is going to be the guy who makes the next big step into the big leagues. He was throwing just under 100 miles an hour, which in spring training is kind of crazy to do. You're kind of wearing out your arm, but if he's confident in doing that, then I trust the process. He, in the AAA last year, had a 1.83 ERA. And he had a 42.5% ground ball percentage on top of 34% strikeout percentage. And MLB.com has his MLB debut ETA as late April, early May, which is the soonest of any prospect that they don't expect to make the opening day roster.
That's early. Tyler.
I'm gonna agree with Aram here. I'm gonna go Cam Smith. I'm gonna say a couple things here. He's batting .529 with a 1.636 OPS. Spring training stats don't matter as much as regular season stats, but both of those are insane. 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. He has shown that he is great with the bat, especially because the Astros outfield is the worst it's been in years. Getting rid of Kyle Tucker is a devastating thing, but if we could have someone, if the Astros can have someone like Cam Smith go into the outfield, perform well, it would be the deepest lineup they've had in years to have people like Jordan and maybe Cam Smith, and if Altuve can hit as well, and if Pena can return. And to have a deep lineup, to have someone fill in an outfield spot is something that they desperately need, and Cam Smith might be able to fill that void because in spring training he has absolutely been raking.
Yeah, so those are all great prospects right here. I'm going to have to give the 3 right here to Mr. Aram Vela because of how he talks about Cam Smith and his batting average being able to fill the shoes at third base, and that's what's needed most. I do think Cam Smith can make his debut early, Tyler, through outfield depth. That's what the Astros are struggling with a little bit too right now, and that's where he could be needed. I'm going to give you the 2. I really like how you talk about, Bubba Chandler making his debut as early as possible. We haven't really seen that yet. Paul Skeens didn't make his debut till maybe, was it June?
It was like May 31st.
So, practically June. And here you have Bubba Chandler coming up to make his debut in possibly late April. That's still pretty close. I just like how you talk about, filling the shoes of a third baseman role. All right, so that's a great second round from our contestants. So many exciting moves, real or potential, to talk about during any offseason, NBA or NFL. Just going over the scores here, it looks like Mr. Tyler Strempel leads with 14, and then we have Aram Vela with 11, and Colin Flickinger with 11. All right, but stay tuned. We've got rapid fire coming up next, and you won't want to miss anything.
Whoever grabs it first.
Welcome back into College Crossfire. We have a super fun game going on right now. Mr. Tyler Strempel has 14, and Colin and Aram are tied at 11. But tonight's win is still up for grabs as we get into the biggest part of our show, rapid fire. Double the points, double the pressure. It's about to get hot. Let's get into our first question. Each season we are presented with 63 games of some of the most fantastic basketball of the entire year. Every conference gets represented as teams will cement their legacies in the pageantry of college basketball. While others will go home heartbroken, this is the best postseason stage in all of sports. Some games are close, some games are blowouts, and others are pure cinema. Which is the best March Madness game of all time? Go. Anyone can start.
There are 2 answers to this question.
Get one.
I know, and I'm only going to go with one of them here. The national championship game between Villanova and North Carolina is the best March Madness game of all time. A close game all around. Absolute cinema. Everybody on the edge of their seats. And in the final seconds, Villanova hits a 3 to win the national championship. It doesn't get better than that in any postseason bracket, especially a 68-team March Madness. You cannot touch that as the best game of all time.
I was in Houston.
I think that what you look for in March Madness is upsets, and upsets don't necessarily need to come from a low seed like a 16 or a 10, but when a 2 seed beats the team that is billed as the greatest college basketball team to ever play, before they even touched the court, the 2019 Duke Blue Devils, and that Michigan State team with Cassius Winston, Matt McQuaid, upset them in Washington. They were the underdogs as the 2 seed by 8 points. They were the underdog by 8 points as a 2 seed against a 1 seed. And they beat them in the final seconds due to some insane play from all around that team. I was at that game. It was absolutely electric. If we're looking at purely the most fun and entertaining and best game to watch, I think it's that game.
That was just random fact. That was a Sunday afternoon game, yes? And Zion was playing on that.
It was.
Yep. Aram.
I'm going to keep the trend Tyler set with, game-winning buzzer beaters. So this is a little bit before any of y'all was born. I was around, I'm not going to lie. 1992, 93, I believe. Duke Blue Devils versus the Kentucky Wildcats. It was, I think it was Grant Hill who threw full court. It was what Jason Kent tried to do the other day to beat Oklahoma. Full court, all the way to the other side. Christian Layton, he caught it at the free throw line, turn around, fade away, and that was the win. And I think they ended up winning the national championship. If we're talking about greatness, obviously, Villanova I'm not disputing that. But I think that has to be considered up there. It's a hell of a lot better than whatever Colin said. I think because it was a buzzer beater.
Because Duke didn't lose.
They made a whole documentary off of that. You know. Yeah, they made a whole Christian Laettner 30 for 30. All right, question 2. March Madness is also a time where players ranging from Wooden Award candidates to AP All-Americans to the most unsung heroes come alive. I know there is one player in your heart who truly captures the madness of March. Who is the best NCAA Division Tournament player of all time? Does not have to be the best basketball player. Just think of the tournament. Who is defined by March Madness?
Kemba Walker. That 11 seed UConn team was pretty special. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see an 11 seed make a run like that again. When I think of March Madness, I think of Kemba Walker and that UConn team. I think that was what really started like the evil empire of UConn. That's what really transcended them into the realm of being considered a blue blood. So I'm gonna go with Kemba Walker.
Cardiac Kemba was his nickname, right? All right, Tyler.
I'm going to go with a fairly recent one, but it's someone who no one would have ever known his name had it not been for a run to the Elite Eight. Doug Edert of St. Peter's and the Peacocks. Beating Kentucky, getting to the Elite Eight, no one would have known who Doug Edert was had it not been for March Madness, but his performance in propelling St. Peter's to the Elite Eight as a 15 seed will always be remembered in March Madness lore. And I think that is what defines a best March Madness player of all time.
He did that against Purdue, and the St. Peter's also had an upset either the year before or the year after. They had multiple upsets, yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Colin.
If I have to go with one person that really encapsulates both the highs and lows of March, it's going to be someone that Aram actually mentioned, Christian Laettner. I mean, you look at as he mentioned, the shot, right? That was an insane moment. It's called the shot for a reason. But he also experienced heartbreak in losing some big games in March Madness. You know, a guy who can reach the very, very top, who can carry a team to a national championship, but can also fall short and feel the pain of that defeat. I think nothing more encapsulates March Madness than that, so I gotta go with Christian Laettner.
All right, those were also some great answers. All right, this week, reports about the new Houston Astros City Connect jerseys may look like leaked online. This is a change from their current Space City Navy Blue jerseys. Whether you like the potential new one or not, we see new ones, different ones in sports every year. So, if you were to be in charge of designing an alternate jersey for any professional sports team, what would it look like and who would it be for?
You gotta play this game. Okay, I'm gonna go with, and this is just relevant, and it sounds like I'm, a broken record here. There's one uniform that is so iconic from the 90s. It's the only team to win the finals other than Chicago Bulls in an 8-year span, and yet there is absolutely no recollection of it in any of the uniforms right now. Where are the ketchup and mustards for the Houston Rockets? Everybody knows what the ketchup and mustards look like. Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler. The only team to not beat the Bulls to win in an 8-year stretch, and there's nothing to commemorate that in their uniforms. It's so simple. Bring back a throwback that everybody knows, and it will sell. Just bring back the ketchup and mustards. No weird design things. Nowhere to get anything wrong. Nowhere for fans to be like, ooh, that's really ugly, because everybody knows it and everybody loves it.
All right. Colin, you look like you have something.
I don't expect any of you to know what this answer was, but in 2008, Pittsburgh Penguins rocked out in a Stadium Series. Can you shut up, Nolan? This Pittsburgh Penguins rocked out to the Stadium Series in a baby blue Pittsburgh Penguins jersey, a throwback to their 1970s jersey before they switched to the black and gold like the other two teams in the Pittsburgh city, right? That baby blue jersey was the highest selling NHL jersey up to that point for the Sidney, with Sidney Crosby's number on the back, the highest player jersey type combination sold ever to that point. More than Gretzky, more than Lemieux, more than Gordie Howe, more than Ovechkin, more than anyone. That jersey is so iconic. It is so beautiful. I really hope they bring that back while Sidney Crosby still plays. I need to get one of those.
All right. Aram.
Loki, what was the question? It said, it's not bringing back something that was already there, right? That's what it was, right?
You're designing a new alternate jersey for a team.
So all of that, all that stuff was something that was already there. And I guess I'm probably gonna, this is kind of cheap, but I'm gonna go with the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm gonna keep it in the NBA. Those yellow jerseys, I just don't mess with them. It's the purple and gold, not the purple yellow. So bring back the day. I mean, they say Showtime is back. They say Showtime is back. I mean, there's certain aspects from the 80s you can't really bring back, if you feel what I'm saying. But
See, we are bringing things back, huh?
So hey, listen, bring it all back. Coach everything. Go back to Pfizer. I'm not even sure. There's running some Diddy allegations up in there, bro. So I'm gonna go with changing the Lakers. The yellow, the ugly yellow that they have right now, it makes me mad every time I watch a Lakers game. So I'm going to go from changing that back to the original purple and gold. That's what it's called, purple and gold.
All right. What an exciting night of getting to talk some sports. All right, so great answers all around by everyone. Our contestants tonight put on some great answers. It was a lot of Houston talk, a lot of Pittsburgh talk, and we also got to talk a lot of March Madness and just bask in the fun pageantry that we've gotten to grow up watching from that great tournament over the years. So with that being said, there can only be one winner, and that person's name is first one of the semester, Mr. Tyler Strempel, by 1 point.
Over who?
Over Aram Vela.
I'll take the points.
Whoa! Sandbag two both times I was on.
All right.
Sandbag both.
Do we have time for first time?
Not really. But give it to me.
No. Yes.
Tyler, go.
Third time's a charm. Thankful for everybody that stuck with me on the journey. Excited to come back and continue this going. I love it here. It's a fun time to be, and I finally got to win one. I'm really excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. All right, that's going to wrap things up here for TSTV tonight. Thank you to everyone who makes this show possible, from the contestants to the in-studio personnel and all the people in Master Control. Shout out Gabriel Silva, who did a great job directing his first show by himself tonight. Let's give a round of applause for him. Shout out to Luke Lawhorn on teleprompter and Nolan Clay, our stage manager. Have a great spring break. Be sure to catch the 1-0 show on Friday. We'll be back after the spring break. Be safe. That's going to wrap things up for College Crossfire tonight. I'm your host, Robert Gonsolin. Have a great night.